Hi everyone, how's it going? This is Mike, also known as Gray 1951, and I just wanted to do a response to the midweek chat by James and Claire. And the topic this week, well, the two topics, one of them is um, do we prefer going to the movies, going out to a theater, or do we prefer staying home and watching movies in our home theater? And the second topic is, do we like to buy our movies, or do we like to download or rent? Okay? Okay, well, taking the first topic, I have to say that I like both, and I would say probably if I had to balance the two, it would come a little more on the side of staying home and watching a movie by myself. But no, I really like going to the theater. In fact, some of my best memories in life are being in movie theaters, and that includes the drive-ins, which with my family we used to go to the drive-ins together back in the late 50s and up into the 60s. And no, I really cherish those memories. I've had some great times in theaters. And I know that it's evolved over the decades. It's not at all like it was back when I was a kid. Of course, nothing else is. Even I'm not like I was back when I was a kid. But I agree with all the people. I listened to all the video responses, and I agree with the people who talked about some of the complaints they have about being in theaters in this day and age, with people behaving badly, bringing babies who can't help but cry, and people who talk, people who text, have their phones ringing and all this, and give running commentary on. Yeah, I agree with all that, and it can spoil your movie-going experience. But even so, I'm not ready to quite give up on it. And in my situation, the city I live in, which is, well, the whole metropolitan area, we have about maybe 125,000 people or something like that. We have two megaplexes. Both have IMAX, and they just have them put in. So we have all that, which is kind of cool for a lot of people. But the best thing we have in this community here, in downtown Champaign, we have, and I've talked about this in other videos, so some of you may have heard it, but we have a locally owned independent theater called the Art Theater, which is also a co-op, which means people can buy shares in it and have you know, a real connection with it and have a say in what happens. And this theater is wonderful because it's completely unlike the multiplexes in that they show independent films, and they have little film festivals, and they have a lot of retrospectives of older films and cult films, which you don't find usually at most of the multiplexes. And the experience of going there is just completely night and day different than being in one of your megaplexes. For one thing, they serve liquor, which is nice. They serve coffee, which means you can sit there and drink coffee and Kahlua while you're watching a movie. They serve locally made baked goods instead of just all your run-of-the-mill. You know, they have all the candy and all that stuff too. But I mean, it's just, the atmosphere is different. They don't show commercials before the shows. The guy who runs the place, who is a real movie lover, he actually gets up before most of the features and introduces the film. And they have little contests and drawings and stuff like that before they start the feature. And sometimes they even invite, I think they call it like the 1-minute review. They invite anybody who's in the audience who knows about the film they're about to show to give a 1-minute review without giving away plot, and just recommend it to people. And that's kind of a cool thing to do. So I've since that's been in operation, I found myself spending more and more time there than I do anywhere else. And we also have, of course, as I mentioned in another couple of videos, another old theater in town, an old movie palace called the Virginia Theater, which is now owned by the, here goes the clock again, owned by the City Park District. And they show, they're not in operation all the time, and they don't operate for profit, but they have retrospectives of films. And that's where I saw Jaws a week ago, and right now they're showing kind of like a summer blockbuster series. And they showed E.T. a couple of weeks ago, which I happened to miss, unfortunately. And this weekend they're showing Men in Black, which I couldn't go to because I had to work. But anyway, that's cool also. And over at the Art Theater, they show midnight films on Friday and Saturday, and that's a very cool thing. Right now, what they're doing is they're getting ready to make the switch from film to digital, and I guess they have to get rid of the film projector because they don't have room to keep both. So that's kind of sad in a way, but I guess everything changes and everything's going digital, so we just have to accept it. But right now they're having kind of a going away celebration of new movies on film for their midnight shows. And this weekend, which I also missed, they're showing the original Friday the 13th. And here's what they're showing in the upcoming weeks, which is really cool. Next week it's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The week after that is Doctor Strangelove. The week after that it's Jim Henson's Labyrinth, which I've never seen. The week after that it's Eraserhead, the David Lynch classic, which I love. And then they're showing Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Okay, and I'm gonna go to all of these. Even when I work weekends, if I get off at 11 p.m., gives me enough time to come home, change clothes, and wash the face, and then go to the movies. And it's just a cool thing to do. And I've seen a lot of good things over the last couple of years. A few weeks ago, I went to see The Goonies. They were showing that. They showed Ferris Bueller's Day Off. What else have they shown recently? I've seen a lot of great things at the Art Theater, and it's just so that's kind of renewed my love for going to the movies, and I'm very lucky that I have that. But I have to say that I also went to the multiplex, or one of them, last weekend to see the new Star Trek film, and it was a great experience. There were no crying babies. There were no people talking. I didn't hear any cell phones go off. Didn't see anybody texting, the flashing lights and all that. At least where I was sitting, I didn't see it. And so nobody was more surprised than me. So I haven't given up hope. And I have to say that I like I said before, I have great memories of going to the movies. And some of the best things that happened to me, things that stick out of my mind forever, of being at the movies and having that experience of being in a huge crowd of people and seeing a show or anticipating a show, something like that. I can remember when The Exorcist came out in 1973, and I went to see it with my sister and her husband. People lined up all the way down the block, around the corner, and halfway into the next town to get into this film. And the excitement was so real. It was wonderful. And there are a lot of things I remember of everybody, just jumping at the same moment. For example, one of the things that really sticks out in my mind is seeing Carrie in 1976. And I know most of the people who are in this community, I know you've seen Carrie, so you know what I'm talking about. But that final scene where Amy Irving is carrying the bouquet up to the ruins of the house, and the hand comes up and grabs her. I mean, everybody just like, at the very same second. It was wonderful, and I will never forget things like that. And yeah, I'm not ready to give that up. Now, as far as watching movies at home, I love that too. And I have to say that I don't have a home theater set up. What I have are two retro 27-inch TVs. One that's in my living room back here behind me, and the other is upstairs in my TV room where I keep all my DVD collection and my posters and all that stuff. And I just haven't I don't have a sound system, just the speakers on the televisions. And I don't feel deprived. I don't feel like, well, I know I'm missing something by not having a big screen TV and the great sound. Obviously I'm missing something, but I don't feel like I'm deprived of anything, like I'm just suffering because of it. When one of these things break down, or if I ever decide that I have enough money to go out and spend on something, I'm sure I'll make the switch. But it doesn't really hinder my enjoyment of movies at home. And having said that, when I watch a movie at home, I'm much more personally, intimately involved with it. I study the film. I usually watch the film all the way through, and if I like it, if I'm impressed by it, then I'll watch it again with commentary, if that's available. Then I'll watch the extra features, and then I'll usually go back and I'll just watch certain scenes, and I start memorizing it. I just, memorizing it in my mind, memorizing dialogue, and it just becomes a permanent part of my memory, I guess. And I do that a lot. I spend a lot of time studying films that I love, which is why I watch them over and over and over again. I don't really have time to be adventurous. But yeah, so yeah, I do like to do that, and so I spend a lot of time at home. It's even, it's funny, even when I go out to the movies, I almost always go by myself, and it's a very solitary experience. Even though I'm in the theater with a crowd of people, and I don't like it when it's crowded to the point where you can't breathe, because I do like to sit on the end of a row, like a lot of other people already mentioned, and just kind of have my own space there, but with everybody else over here. I actually feel better that way. But I can tune out everybody unless somebody is just completely, outrageously disturbing me. I can tune it all out and just be connected with what's on the screen. But it really is a different experience seeing something on the big screen that just kind of flows over you, rather than being at home and just being, just meet you in the small screen curling up at the TV. And there are some films that I've seen that I've seen many, many times at home, and that I've taken the opportunity to see them on the big screen when I have the chance. For example, about a year ago, I saw one of my favorite films, The Night of the Hunter, and I know every piece of dialogue in that movie, every scene. I know everything that's going to happen, so there were no surprises. But when I saw it on the big screen, it was not necessarily like seeing it the first time, but it was seeing it in a completely different way, and it enhanced the experience and just made me love it even more. I've gone out of my way to see a lot of movies on the big screen that I've already seen many, many times. About 10 years ago, I drove up to Chicago to see Black Sunday on the big screen at the Gene Siskel Theater. They were having a retrospective of the films of Mario Bava, and I wanted to see all of them, but I could only go up just for one night. So I chose, of course, Black Sunday, which is one of my favorite films of all time. And that turned out to be kind of a mixed bag of an experience. I loved seeing it. I mean, it was beautiful seeing it like that. But not everybody in the theater was quite as into it as I was. And there were some people, a couple of guys in the theater, they were laughing at some of the scenes, which was not really appropriate to laugh at, in my opinion. So it's not always a positive experience. Sometimes you just have to kind of take the bad with the good. That also happened to me way back in the 70s. I live in a college town, and we used to have a theater right on the college campus, called, appropriately enough, the Co-Ed. And once, I think it was about 1977, maybe 78, one of the theaters showed Forbidden Planet. Right? I can't remember now if it was a late night, midnight film or something like that. But I went to see it because I've loved this movie since I was a kid and always wanted to see it on the big screen. So I was just going with this reverential attitude, just waiting for it to start. And the place was jammed with college kids, most of whom at the time, I was still in my 20s, so they weren't that much younger than me. But they didn't have the same kind of reverence for the film that I did. And a lot of people were laughing at it. So that was a mixed bag of an experience. I'm very glad that I saw it that way, but it isn't always a good experience. So you just have to kind of accept these things, and it's not always going to be perfect. So, but I'm still not ready to give up on seeing things on the big screen, and I love to watch movies at home, and someday I will splurge and get a home theater. So anyway, the second topic is, do we like to buy our movies, or do we like to download and or rent? Well, I much prefer to buy my films, even though it's hard to believe, but I do show a lot of restraint. I don't buy everything that I would like to have because I don't have the money to do that. And it was funny when James said he considers himself to be a hoarder of movies. I look around my house and I see all this stuff, not just the movies but everything else, and I really am being a hoarder, but I'm in denial. So, but as far as renting, I haven't done that for a while. Actually, in this community, we're down to just one video rental store now. It's a family video, and all the Blockbusters are closed. And I'm actually thinking about joining Family Video because there are a lot of very recent films that I may not want to buy that I would still like to check out to see if I like them. And as far as Netflix goes, I did belong to that for about a year. And I was getting a lot of stuff from them. I was getting the DVDs in the mail, and I was also watching a few things on my computer, usually old TV shows, stuff like that. And I was enjoying it. And then they raised the price, and I said, fuck this, I'm not going to do it. I just did it out of spite. I just cut them off. But I'm thinking about joining again, because when I belonged to Netflix, there were a lot of things that I rented just to experiment with that I didn't think I would like to buy, that I completely fell in love with, and I did go out and buy them after a while. So, such as the films of Michelangelo Antonioni. I didn't know if I would like those, so I thought if I rent them from Netflix, it's not going to hurt, financially. If I don't like them, I'll just watch them and send them back. But I completely fell in love with them, so that became a part of my collection. So yeah, it's kind of a positive thing. So I guess that's my answer. Okay, thank you for listening. Great topic, James, and I look forward to your next chat. Okay, good night, everyone.